Reading the prayer, stand for pledge, opening prayer by Pastor Doyle. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Do you remain standing usually? Okay, good. I really want to give credit to a lot of the businesses and schools in the village. It's just such an encouragement, and schools are represented tonight. And just to see the kids in the graduations going through with that, and it reminds me of Northern Ireland where I grew up, and just the businesses there, the resilience, the bouncing back after bomb damage, after the stores had been blown apart, incendiary bombs or whatever. Just within a couple of days, they had the big banner across the window, business as usual, bomb damage sale. You know, so they rescued the stuff that was still okay and they put it on sale. And I just, it's not the same as today, but it's still the same heart in the businesses and the people to bounce back. Let's pray. As we remember in silent prayer, families of Uvalde School in Texas, still that Ukraine-Russian conflict, for families here in this area directly affected by that. For a young lad, 5 years old, of Palmyra, needing successful bone marrow transplant, for families too experiencing any hardship with increased food prices and gas prices. Let's remember these areas and any other private areas of prayer that you might have at this time. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this village, for everyone here faithfully on the village council, grateful for their service, their work, including the new appointees who may be involved at this time. We remember the farms, schools, businesses, and we remember the newspaper, the press, the encouragements that are coming there. We call upon you for success and safety in all the families, teachers and schools, pupils, students at all times, especially in the sports and graduations, for understanding in all business transactions. We pray for the financial institutions and for all the stores, sufficient staff to meet the manning requirements. We pray that you would help patients and the general public for increased prices and goods and services, especially businesses that have to deal with this. Thinking of those who have gone through particular hardships at this time, that you would give wisdom, strength, encouragement to them. For police, emergency and medical services, fire department, senior citizens. Lord, we continue to pray for police success and their vital role, especially at this time, physically protecting all of us, but especially our children in schools. Give them and the teaching staff real wisdom in taking the necessary steps for that protection, with the support and understanding of both parents and general public. And now, Lord, we ask that you would give wisdom, insight, discernment to all in the village council tonight, in all those areas represented. We pray for them and their families and ask for this information that they need, wisdom in all decisions to be made, and favor to be given to each one of them for the benefit of the village, all the families in the surrounding areas. All this we ask in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Roll call.
Todd Lopez,
Here.
Glenn Dusa. Here. James Bateson,
Present.
Mike Gunner,
Here.
Jerry Hayes.
Here.
Barb McHenry. Here. Tim Waters.
Present. Minutes of May 23rd, 2022 meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 23rd, 2022 as presented. Support.
Moved and supported to approve the minutes of May 23rd, 2022 as presented. Are there any corrections, questions? Now you can call the roll, Lisa.
Barb. Yes. Jerry.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Mike.
Yes.
Tim.
Yes.
Gwen. Yes. Bob.
Yes. Minutes are approved. Presentations and communications. Scott Riley, Blissfield Community Schools, school safety.
All right, good evening. I'd like to first start off by introducing the guest I brought with me. I brought my admin team, the building principals. I have Linda Mueller, who's the elementary principal to my left. Mr. Rupp is the middle school principal, and Mr. Bader is the high school principal. So I'd like to thank them for joining me tonight. Go back to the first slide. Okay. So I'll try to keep this brief because I get to sit through one of these a month as well, so I know how long that can be. But I want to talk a little bit about building community partners. That's kind of been our goal since 2019, is finding ways to bridge that gap between the district and the community. And you notice I have a couple pictures up on there, which I'll get to here in a second, but we were very fortunate to have Officer Ronnie Corey with our district the last 2.5 weeks. And a couple pictures of him, and you're going to see they're kind of scattered throughout. So if you want to go on to the next slide, please. Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about what that impact was, and then if the principals want to chime in here at any point in time, I told them they can. So I just wanted to highlight a few of the things. First of all, for our students, they were able to establish an immediate bond with Officer Corey, and he did a phenomenal job of kind of diving into that role. He became an instant positive role model, which, as you know, in education is very important these days. He immediately established the respect factor, and most importantly, which is what our goal was from the get-go, was to create a safe environment for our students. You guys see that's a common theme amongst the other two that we have here. So the parents, what that did is that, you know, the expectation when parents drop kids off for school is at the end of the day, their kids are going to come home from school. So that peace of mind by having Officer Corey present, not only on the grounds, but in the buildings, was very evident the last 2.5 weeks. Again, created that safe environment. And just his mere presence in the morning of being out there, if you've ever been to the elementary in the mornings or even the afternoon for drop off and pickup, it's organized chaos, we'll call it that. But just his presence there helped kind of keep the flow of traffic moving a little bit better. So that was greatly appreciated. And then ultimately for our staff, it gave them peace of mind, but more importantly, it gave them the opportunity to focus on teaching and learning. That's what our teachers are there for. And it seems like all too often in our society nowadays, we're spending a lot of time talking about, you know, safety and protocols. And anytime you do that, that takes away from the teaching and learning opportunities that the kids get on a daily basis. So I don't know if any of the principals want to talk real quick about the impact of Officer Corey. Anything to add?
I think you've covered it.
Okay, I did share this presentation with them, so I think we kind of covered the majority of our bases, but if you want to jump to the next slide, please. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Chief Greenleaf. I know being in a leadership position, sometimes you make decisions that aren't always the most popular, but I feel in this instance, I really felt like he was proactive in his position. He communicated with me. It was actually on a Saturday, and we talked through it quite a bit. He wasn't quite sure who he was going to assign at that point in time, but Officer Corey ended up being the one that was assigned. And like I said, we couldn't have asked for a better fit. So a big thank you to Chief Greenleaf for being proactive, because there's obviously a lot of schools after the incident in Texas where they started to beef up security. Also, I want to send a thank you out to Danielle. Since she has started, she has reached out to myself, and we've met on several occasions talking about ways to bridge that gap between the district and the village. In fact, we have one of our students that now sits on the DDA board. So thank you to Mr. Bader for helping organize that and make that happen. And then ultimately also I want to thank the village council for your willingness to allow this to happen. Like I said, it's such a big positive, not only from a school standpoint for us, but just from a community standpoint. I've had a lot of people I've talked to over the last few weeks. You always want to end the school year on a positive note. And it's tough when you've had an incident like that in Texas. But I thought our staff and the kids and the parents, and more importantly, Officer Corey's presence during that time really brought all that together. So just a big thank you to you. And then the next part is, so what's next? Because the question has come up quite often, not only from my board, but from many of the parents that I've talked to, from many of the staff. What would it look like to have an SRO, a school resource officer at BCS? Okay, and when you look up the school resource officer website, one of the things that it mentions in there is a strong message that violence is not acceptable. And I think that is important to, that aspect of it, that violence is not acceptable, but more importantly, to provide a positive role model for the other kids that's going to be in the district, and that's going to give them that peace of mind and that sense of safety when they're there. There's obviously some parts that go along with the school resource officer, because I think that conversation has come up in the past. The financial is obviously the biggest of those, and then the job description. And instead of trying to solve this tonight, because like I said, I don't think this is something that's going to be had in one meeting. My recommendation moving forward, I guess my ask, not recommendation, the ask of the council is to commit a board member from the village. We would commit a board member to one or two from the village, one or two from the school district, the village administrator, Danielle, Chief Greenleaf, and then myself along with the admin team. We have some different models of what other schools do in the county and in the area. I think that's the first step. And I met with Danielle and Chief, was that last week? I think or 2 weeks ago, my days kind of run together. And we discussed a little bit more of this ahead of the meeting. And I'm not coming here to ask for an SRO. I'm asking to at least open that door so we can start to have conversations and be a little bit more proactive than reactive. I feel like we have a safe community, but I think, Oxford, Uvalde, I think if any of those communities probably have that same mindset going into it. So I just want to make sure that we are doing our due diligence and doing our best to protect not only our staff, but more importantly, our students in the district. So
I guess I would add this. To me, it was pretty neat. I'm at the middle school, and to me, it was pretty neat to see as a couple of the officers as they were on duty stopped in the building. Officer Luce had not had a tour of the building, so I got to give him a tour. But we were standing out in the front main entrance there during the passing period, and it was really neat to see students come up to him as a uniformed officer and just ask how his day was and give him a high five, and that I think that was a positive experience for him, but for our students as well. And so I think it was kind of neat to see, or to have the students see the principal and an officer standing out in the hallway, having a good conversation. We were laughing and smiling, and his kids were coming by, they were giving him high fives. I missed out on the high fives. I don't know, but they passed me by and went to him, but so, and that's okay. But it was just that positive interaction that I think probably gave off that calming presence that, the police are here. Why are they here? There's a problem. It wasn't that. It was just, hey, we're here. We're checking things out. They would loop through our parking lot all the time. And so it was just that I felt like it was a positive connection for our police officers and for our students to just say, okay, they're looking out for us. They're here not because that there's a problem, but they're just looking out for us. And we had another quick example, and I'm not sure if I shared this with Mr. Riley or not, but we sent out the parent-wide email, district-wide email, that there would be an officer on the grounds, you know, and one parent responded and just said, you know, we very much, hey chief, we very much appreciate the connection between the police department and the school district and being proactive in a time where everybody is heightened, especially if they have kids that are little or kids who have, you know, disabilities that they struggle with understanding scenarios and things like that. So that parent really very much appreciated the decisions that were made to have that opportunity on campus.
Thanks, Mr. Rupp. And Chris brought up a good point, and you know, which is something that I reached out to Chief when I first started at Blissfield, because I think it's important to have that police presence there whenever possible, not just when there's an incident that comes about. So a credit to Chief and his staff. You know, we've had a pretty, and I sent out an email to the parents as well to let them know that we are going to have a police presence at the school. This was back in 2019, pre-COVID, and they've been doing a great job. If they have a minute to stop by and walk through a building, told them that's, you know, they can even stop and pick up a free lunch from the cafeteria. But anything we can do, and Chris brought up a great point. You know, our goal is to bridge that gap to where it just becomes normal for kids to see a police officer in the district. And like I said, I didn't get a chance to go through all the photos. So if you want to save a copy of that and share it with the board, if you look at like the first day that Officer Corey was there, he was actually there with Chief because we had the elementary picnic. And before you know, this picture right here, you know, these kids are having races and Officer Corey's out there saying go and running with the kids, just kind of blended right in with them. And he was passing out, you know, deputies badges, the sticker badges, the one day to the kids. But he was like an instant celebrity, which is what you want, is that relationship to be a positive one with our local police. So without further ado, I guess I'll wrap it up. And if anyone has any questions, I see Chief came in late. So Chief, you missed a thank you. A big thank you for being proactive and just keeping that door open for a working relationship with the schools. It's greatly appreciated.
It's been enjoyable.
Yep. Yeah. Any questions from anyone?
I do actually.
Okay.
Do you guys have a deer officer or deer program at Blissfield schools? I didn't know.
We do not.
You do not, okay. And you guys don't have a liaison officer at from the county or anything of that nature either?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay.
Would you propose putting a board together, committee here in the near future before the school year?
Yes.
You have a timeline or?
But when that meeting happens, or, you know, the goal is to hopefully, you know, because a lot of times we spend a lot of time talking about what we should do or what, you know, what we could do. You know, if you guys are willing to be a, you know, a part of that process, I'd like to get together tomorrow, you know, as soon as possible, to get the conversation started, and to lay out some scenarios. I'm all about, and Chief knows, you know, let's throw all our cards on the table, because at the end of the day, we're here to protect the students in our district. I think our board is going to make that financial commitment to help make that happen, but I don't think we can do it on our own. You know, the school year is 180 days long, so about half the year. You know, I'm not a math major, but that's, you know, about half the cost, you know, when you break it down. But I know there's more to it than that as far as availability and those types of things. So there's a lot of logistics that we'd have to work out, but I think we have enough professionals that we could sit down and have rational conversation, hopefully find some solution or some middle ground. And I know there's some grants available. I'm hoping that MDE, Michigan Department of Ed, is going to do something along the lines of helping fund resource officers in schools. But you know, there's been times where I waited 5 years for MDE to act on something, so I'd rather take the opportunity and take advantage of it now when we have that chance. So,
Okay, thank you.
yeah. And I do have one more quick thing that I'm going to leave you with, because it's kind of ironic. I was reading through your minutes. I talked about one of the things in the rec department is how to expand recreational opportunities. If you have not heard, we have a bond coming up on August 2nd. So I'm not going to go into great detail on that because I'll come back at another meeting and talk to you about that. But I will leave you with one of the brochures. I have a couple extra that I'll leave up here. I can run back to my office before this meeting is over and drop some more out because I didn't realize we were going to have quite the participation here today. So I will leave you with one of these. The vote is on August 2nd. There's the informational brochure for you to look at. So, all right. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
All right, we're going to move on to the agenda. I would like to amend the agenda for a fee waiver under new business. I could have someone make that motion.
I move to approve the agenda with the amendment of the fee waiver. I'll second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the agenda as presented with fee waiver for under new business. Any questions?
Yeah, we're taking that off or
We're adding.
Adding. That's going to be number one. So everything else,
Number two. And the payroll goes to number two.
right, everything else is down one.
So you go straight.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Aaron, any other questions? Overall.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
yes.
James,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb. Yes. Gwen. Yes. Bob.
Yes, the agenda is approved. Public comment items on the agenda. Okay, we move on to unfinished business. See the new business. And number one, fee waiver.
Sorry. Throwing me off here. Thank you for adding this to the agenda. I appreciate it. I had actually talked to this individual a few weeks back and then again last week, and they had indicated they were going to send it to me, and I didn't receive it until this morning via email. But I did receive a request from a resident that purchased an aquatic center family pass last year, and they are requesting a fee waiver this year. And the reason, I'm just going to read why. They would like to express their concerns about our inability to use the pool membership to the fullest in summer 2021. Most of the reasons were due to staff shortage or no staff available to keep the pool open on most days our family were going for. We did show up at the pool many times to be told the pool is closing due to not having enough staff, or other times no staff available to keep the pool open. It was very disappointing for our family not to be able to use the pool membership to its full advantage in summer 2021. Most of the days were in July and August. Yes, we were aware with reasons why there were staff shortages or no staff on the days we tried to swim. It was no one's fault for what happened in summer 21. For that reason, they are requesting to obtain a free pass or a waiver for this pool season. I did talk to this individual and let them know that I was going to strongly recommend that we do not grant it. I did apologize for the times last year that they could not attend the pool. And I explained to them that we had the same hours for everybody that had a family pass. So if we give them a free family pass this year, then really every person that had a membership last year should have the same treatment. And for obvious reasons, financial being the biggest, that didn't make sense to the village, but that ultimately I would bring it to you guys for review and you could make a decision. And again, I get the frustration, but there was a lot of times we were open as well. I don't think there was a shortage of hours overall.
Did the persons sending the note, did they make contact with anyone last year in the office? Was this noted at all last year?
They did indicate that they had emailed Heather in September of 21 and did not get a response. And when they had called me the first time 2 weeks ago, asking for Heather, I let them know she was no longer here. We did look in her email and I'm not saying it wasn't received, but I wasn't able to find it.
They had no other contact with, they didn't come into the office and talk with anyone that anyone could recall.
No, not that I'm aware of.
Do we know how many times they went out there and were denied access? It said numerous, but
I
is
don't.
it one, two
And I
times, or
wouldn't
is
have
it-
a way of knowing that because we only track when they check into the pool. I mean, I could go back and see when we had to close for staff shortages. But that would be any time, regardless if they went or not, I wouldn't know.
You refresh my memory, what is the fee for a family
$130.
for the year?
Yes, that's for the whole
They can
season.
swim anytime they want to.
Correct.
Well,
During open swim,
Well,
yes.
that's what,
Yeah.
correct, when the pool's open.
Yes.
Okay.
You were here for that period, I mean, started what, June, right? So I mean. you
I
were here for
started July
July and
12th,
August,
so yeah,
so
I
you
was
were well
here.
aware, we didn't have that many closures.
We did
Towards the
have
end.
at the end, when school went back into session, and a lot of the kids had, I think it was, I wanna say football, that they were going to, but in July, I think we had a bad storm that I remember closing due to weather, but other than that, I don't remember staff shortages in July. And that's, I mean, I
There
push
were
things
a
out when they're
couple.
done too, so.
Or just a couple early closures, a couple hours early. No full in July.
You want a formal motion?
So if you choose as council that you would like to grant this waiver, that we would need a motion. If you take no action, then that's a denial and nothing would need to be done.
I would prefer to take no action. If it's right, no.
As long as we send them a reply so that they understand, you know, the logic and the reason that Danielle alluded to, if we have to get it to one, we'd have to get it to all. And again, I don't remember that many closures, so I get the frustration, but everybody's frustrated, you know, nobody wants to work these days, and it's hard enough maintaining the staff of, you know, high schoolers, and they do have family vacations and sports and whatnot. And the fact of the matter is, you know, we open the pool to the public for, you know, how many open swims. I can't justify it sadly, but we do need to make contact with them. We need to reply to them and give them a definitive no.
And I did let them know that I would follow up tomorrow morning, letting them know what council's decision was. And I will reiterate the reasons again.
Would you also follow through with or follow up with a written response as well, so that can be documented?
Yeah, I'm actually going to respond via email. That I think is the easier way to communicate with this individual as well. And then let them know that if they have further questions, they can also call me.
And they could also come to the meeting if they feel differently as well.
Yes.
All right,
Thank you, Daniel.
thanks. And action item 2, payroll.
I move to approve the payroll register for May 2022 in the amount of $128,042.51.
I'll support that. Supported to approve payroll register for May 2022 in the amount of $128,042,042.51. Are there any comments or questions of those? Now you can call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, the motion's approved.
Tim, second that one.
Jerry Day.
Thank you, sorry.
Move on to action item 3, accounts payable.
My only comment is, Lisa, thank you again for giving that information to me. I know you appreciate the information ahead of time, and I appreciate you responding in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the bills?
I move to approve the accounts payable for the period of May 11th, 2022 to June 14th, 2022 in the amount of $809,940.17.
I'll support.
Moved and supported to approve the accounts payable period of May 11th, 2022 to June 14th, 2022 in the amount of $809,940.17. You can call the roll, Lisa.
James,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, the bills are paid. Action item 4, approved purchase of new police vehicle.
I did send an email to council or to, I was responding to Gwen's question, but copied all of you earlier, providing some information about the purchase prices in the past. But if you have any other questions about that, let Chief or I know. But what we are requesting, this is a little bit unique in what I would normally do, or I think any of staff would normally do. We actually, in this current fiscal year, don't have this police vehicle budgeted. We have the Department of Public Works truck and plow. And we've not ordered that yet because we've been waiting for USDA, the capital facilities grant. But as I think everybody's well aware, vehicles are very far out. If we order them, it's taking about a year, maybe give or take a little bit, to actually get the vehicle in. So we would like to move forward with getting this vehicle ordered with the understanding that it would be budgeted in this upcoming fiscal year so that we are not a whole nother year out, putting us even further behind on our vehicles. This is something that we would look at. I'm not sure exactly, but we're looking at options for the 17, possibly trading it in to go towards this. I also, as you guys know, we're working on terminating the trust accounts, and one of those is the police equipment, which is $25,000. And if we're able to do that, I would like to see us utilize at least a portion of that to go towards this vehicle purchase. And then with us being able to get hopefully the capital facilities grant with USDA for the DPW truck, being able to get this ordered and then their truck, it kind of puts us back on schedule where we can do alternating years to make sure that our departments have the proper equipment. So again, I know this is a little bit unique. If you have questions, myself or Chief will try to answer them.
We've done it pre-COVID, we did it before this, we ordered the car in the previous fiscal year, so this is nothing out of the ordinary.
Okay.
It makes sense.
what is the turnaround time on a vehicle? And I know it varies, I get that depending on the 4x or the 4-wheel drive, et cetera. But I mean, what is the longevity of a vehicle typically?
Are you saying like once we get it?
Correct, yes.
What is
Yeah.
the life of that?
Yes.
So it really varies too on what the use is. So like our police cars, I would say probably, I was gonna say 4 to 6. Chief says 5 to 6 years on the police car. Some of the vehicles that are used a little bit less, you know, like our DPW, if it's a truck that doesn't have a plow and it's used just for, you know, driving cones around and going to paint things and kind of doing that, then it could be up to 10 years. But it does vary based on use a little bit.
But specifically for the police vehicles, I only ask because I've had 2 residents connect with me after reading the agenda that was coming up for tonight. And the question was surmised that, do we need these vehicles? And I said, well, I'm assuming that it's necessary, but I'll do my due diligence and I'll ask. So I'm just simply asking because the resident's gonna say, how many cars do we have? How often do we get cars? And why do we need a car? And I just wanna make sure that I have enough information to answer that question accurately. And that's why I asked in the email all that information. So the police cars have that longevity of between 5 and 6 years is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Okay. And how many vehicles do we have currently?
We currently have 4.
That's what I heard.
Yes.
Okay. So there's the 17 Ford, the 19 Dodge, the 21 Dodge, and the 23 Ford Responder.
No, the 23 is the new.
Oh, it's a new one, my apologies, I see it now.
Yes.
Yep,
So
okay.
We only have 3
years?
patrol vehicles.
3 patrols.
For patrol, and then 1 general assignment car.
Say that again,
What's the general
It's a 16.
assignment here? Is a 16.
3 patrol,
3 patrol.
Yep.
And then the 1 general, which is the 16.
The unmarked one.
the unmarked one? Gotcha.
Chief, if there's an issue, if those cars go over 100,000 miles, is there any issue with, like pursuit ratings or anything like that?
No, not per se, it's just a matter of making sure we maintain the vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah, there's nothing in the state guidelines or state law or anything like that, it's just as long as the vehicle stays in good working order is basically the standard.
Okay.
Well, and we do try to factor in our maintenance costs
Right.
too. So if you look at the 17 for
Right.
this fiscal year, it's, I think, just over double what
It
we're
is.
paying for the next oldest vehicle. I mean, and considerably more for our
Yes.
21.
And that's where that was helpful for me to see, again, not that I'm saying it's not justified, I'm just asking to get those questions answered. And very clearly, you've got stated that the 17 has the 1808 and the repair bills versus the 19 that has the 821 versus the 21 that has $148. So you can definitely see that, and that just helps to answer my questions for the folks as well. Thanks, Danielle.
Yes.
And we have stretched out the replacement since I've been on council. I remember back in the day, you know, when my dad was a chief of police, we had 4 officers, we had 2 cars, and we'd rotate those every, I think, 2 or 3 years.
A
So,
new vehicle.
yeah, we have unfortunately had to stretch out just due to budget constraints. And you're absolutely right. You look at the maintenance on some of these vehicles run constantly. They have computers in them, now they have the lighting and whatnot. These cars idle consistently, which generates technically miles on the engine. So you're right, it's how do we provide the proper equipment needed to support our staff, but also I get to be responsible to the residents, and I get that. But, you know, it's sad that we have a DPW truck that, you know, the bottom is rusting out of it, literally. But again, it's a matter of priorities, it's a matter of safety, and it's just something that we have to work with within the budget, and I've got no problem ordering that. I think we need to provide them the proper equipment that they need to do their job.
That was, I hope that was never insinuated. Again, my question was coming from 2 residents that connected with me, asking questions I couldn't address. Now I can address them clearly.
Does this signature Ford, do they complete the upgrades? Is that
No.
why?
The outfitting is Well, we put that out for bid, but the last few vehicles we did were with Adrian Sign up in Adrian.
Yeah.
And they've always, since they bid, they've always either been number one or number two. The last time, the next close, well, the bidder that initially beat them out last time on the chart, or in 19 on the Charger, was out of Grand Rapids. And then the day I picked up the Charger, literally I was driving back from the dealership and they called me to tell me it's gonna be 6 months before they get up to our car. So at that point, we came back and awarded the contract to the next best bidder, which was Adrian. It was only a couple $100. And they expressed some frustration. I had to reach out to them before. I said, well, I can't do that. Once you submit a bid, you submit a bid. But they actually ended up saving us a little extra money when we did finally get the car to them. But they've always worked great with us. When we have an issue, which isn't that often with the emergency equipment, they're right on the spot. I mean, we take it right up there and they take care of it right away. Of all the equipment I get in the cars, with the computers and the cameras and the radars and everything else, the emergency lighting and sirens and stuff that they do, it's pretty solid. They do a really good job. And we've had some disasters over the years. We had 2 vehicles since I've been here that were outfitted by different companies that almost burned up. Literally, the wiring was melting and we almost had vehicle fires. So it's important that we get this done right. And I've got a bit of an electronics background myself, so I've had a lot of extensive discussions with the owner. He knows what he's doing. So, yeah.
Have you heard of any communities our size with going to electric vehicles?
You know, I've asked around about that and nobody's, well, I shouldn't say nobody, a few departments are doing it for like detective cars and things like that.
Okay.
But for patrol right now, I haven't found anybody that's doing it, and it was certainly something I looked at. Even on the current issue with fuel prices skyrocketing and everything else, I asked our outfitter if there was any way we could install equipment to use shore power, like you would with a boat while the car is sitting here. And unfortunately, he said that technology is still coming around, but it's cost prohibitive. He said what we would spend on that would save us money, it costs us money. So we've looked at those things. The technology is coming around. It's not quite ready for patrol use yet, from what I've seen.
Okay.
So I think we would be definitely on the cutting edge if we were to go in that direction, but I think it would end up costing us more money than what we're doing right now.
I appreciate you.
I think we should keep monitoring that as well, because it's gonna change.
It'll happen eventually. Yeah.
Well, and I think currently gas prices are gonna force it sooner than what we initially thought.
Make a motion that council authorize the chief of police to order for purchase of 2022 Ford F-150 pursuit vehicle from Signature Ford of Owasso, Michigan, for the quoted price of $39,715.
Support.
Moved and supported to authorize chief of police to order for purchase 2022 Ford F-150 pursuant vehicle from Signature Ford of Owasso, Michigan, for the quoted price of $39,715. Any other questions, comments?
I have one quick question. That vehicle will be transport ready, right? I mean, you could transport a detainee up to.
Oh, yeah, it's gonna have a cage in it.
It's
Yeah.
a crew cab.
It's a crew cab, or is it crew or club? It's the big 4-door.
In a
It's the
Chevy, it's a
4-door.
crew cab.
I think they call it, I don't know what it is. I think they call it the club cab. Yeah, you put a club in it. But yeah, it'll have a cage in it, just like the electrical cars.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And when I say club, I'm talking about the party, not.
You call the roll, Lisa.
Barb,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, motion carried. Action item 5, bid award, water treatment plant road.
Am I good at that? Okay. So As you all are aware, in our budget this year, we did budget to replace the roof at the water treatment plant. We put that up to bid. And we did receive 3 bids, which the bid tab's in the packet for you too. But Brown and Sons was the lowest bid at $105,000, which did come just slightly under our budgeted amount. So we would like to recommend awarding the bid to them. If you have questions, let Maura or myself know.
Now I'll make a move to award Brown and Sons roofing bid for the amount of $105,000 to complete the re-roof of the Blissfield water treatment plant.
Second.
Okay.
Motion to move to award Brown and Sons roofing bid for the amount of $105,000 to complete the re-roof of the Blissfield water treatment plant. Any other comments, questions? Can you call the roll, Lisa?
Jerry,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Section item 6, waiver fee request, vacation of public right of way.
So pursuant to our adopted fee schedule, a vacation of public right of way application fee is $740 with the village. And the property owners at 100 South Main Street are requesting a fee waiver due to the large amount of money they've already spent trying to take care of the issue at this property. There is just really an alleyway or maybe a previous road right away, I'm not entirely sure, that connects to this property. And when they did the title commitment, they found this, so they're trying to correct it before they sell the property.
Is this the alley to the Legion? Or is
No,
it further?
it would be the next block.
It's across the street, right? It's on-
Ah,
Oh, in the empty lot.
yes.
Did they provide us with blueprints, anything like that, that shows the actual property area, what they're trying to do and the information on that? 'Cause, I mean, this is just very vague.
Yeah,
So
I-
an application has not been submitted at this point. They are they're just simply asking for the fee waiver before they even move forward. So I do have a map, but it's not been provided by them.
This is a little too ambiguous for me, honestly, to make any comment on.
So there's separate different owners that own homes on South Main, or no, I'm sorry, High Street. And between these two properties, there's a existing 33-foot right of way that ties back and runs and connects to the 100 South Main, which is the vacant lot right now. So they're wanting to, when this was pulled up, the title company had pulled that right of way. So they're trying to clear that right of way there, that runs between, it's not even their property, it's between the two private homeowners. So they had started a process to do a quiet title, I believe it's called, which I honestly am not familiar with at all. So they had sent some information to the homeowners, which my understanding is wasn't well received. And the homeowners, I know at least one of them went and sought some legal counsel and I think worked with the neighbors that they had. So then at that time, they had reached out to me asking about the request or the process with the village and wanted the village to file it. And I had indicated at that time that the village doesn't expend public funds for private benefit. So I explained the fee and what that process would look like. And at that time, they requested the fee waiver.
Is that a village right away?
I would assume,
Because there's a
yes.
county drain that runs through there. It runs all the way from the park to Stamp Highway. I only know that because I grew up in that neighborhood and there is all the way through that woods out behind High Street, behind the cemetery. There's a county drain there.
So if they decide to go through the vacation application process, part of that is notifying all utility companies or anybody that would be within the right of way to see if they have any conflicts or reason that we would have to keep that right of way. But until I did that, I can tell you the village doesn't have a use for it, but outside of if there's power, cable, or county or anything like that, I don't know at this time.
That's that same drain that leads through the park into the river.
Yes.
That's a massive drain. A big drain. That's way too early, and there's no, for me, there's no reason to negate a fee schedule. We have a fee schedule set in order to do these sort of things. Obviously, there's gonna be staff time that's gonna do research and whatnot. I can't justify it, especially with no information in front of me.
This would be another one if council is electing not to approve it, no motion would be necessary.
Does the right of way show up on a flat map or anything?
No, it's kind of, well, I shouldn't say no, it does show up partially, not fully. If you go to the county mapping, it shows a really goofy triangle area that it has a lot number. It doesn't even appear to be a right of way. It appears to be like an unknown piece of property. But when you go back and do like the title search and go through everything, that's where you find that right of way.
Yeah, again, I think if we can just reach back out to these people and let them know details are needed or required before a decision is made.
You'll do that then, Danielle?
Absolutely,
All
yes.
right, I appreciate that. Just let that one go. Action item 7, appointment, Parks and Rec program coordinator position.
Thank you.
Before you guys make a motion on this, I do want to just be open and transparent that I did not do an interview for this position. I did attempt several times to schedule an interview with a couple of our Parks and Recreation Board members and Mike as well as a council representative. And our schedules were not jiving at all. And I did not want to continue pushing this position out further. We're already, a little bit into the full season and definitely into summer. So Eric was the only applicant and we are recommending to appoint him to this position. But if you have further questions, let me know.
I move to appoint Eric May to the Parks and Rec Program Coordinator position at an annual salary of $13,000.
Support. Moved and supported to appoint Eric May to Parks and Recreation Program Coordinator position with the annual salary of $13,800. Any other comments or questions? Greg, you can call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Just a comment, thank you for that. And I plan on working hard to get to that next level that we want to get our Parks and Rec department to. I got a lot of ideas, especially with the pool. Other areas too, so thank you very much. I'll make you proud.
Thanks, Eric.
We look forward to that. Right, action item 8, approve beverage tent for River Raisin Festival.
That's big, all of that.
You can just say as stated if you want.
All right. I'll make a motion to approve the request from the River Raisin Festival Committee as stated. Would that be sufficient?
Yes.
Okay,
Support.
And then I'll include all of that.
That motion has been made and supported. And are there any comments or questions? You can call the roll on that motion as presented, Lisa.
Jerry,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
I'm going to vote what's best for the village, so my vote is yes.
Tim,
No.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion is carried. Action item 9, approve worker camp for River Raisin Festival.
I'll make a motion to approve the request from the River Raisin Festival Committee to set up the festival carnival worker camp at the parking lot adjacent to the old pool facility in Ellis Park, with the understanding that the River Raisin Festival Committee and the carnival owners are primarily responsible for monitoring activities within the camp at all times.
I'll support.
There's motion and a support. Are there any other comments or questions? If not, you can call the roll, Lisa, on that motion as presented.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, that motion carried. Action item 10, approve fireworks permit for River Raisin Festival.
I'll make a motion to move to approve the fireworks permit for the 2022 River Raisin Festival event.
A second.
Moved and seconded to approve the fireworks permit for the 2022 River Raisin Festival event. You call the roll, Lisa.
Barb,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, and motion carried. Item 11, resolution authorizing the application for a special license for Blissfield on tap.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing the application for special license for the Blissfield on tap event to be held August 13th, 2022.
I'll support.
Moved and supported to approve the resolution authorizing the application for special license for Blissfield on tap event to be held August 13th, 2022. Any comments or questions? Now you can call the roll, Lisa.
Mike,
Yes.
Tim,
No.
Gwen,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, and motion's carried. Action item 12, appointment youth DDA Main Street Board member.
I move to appoint Michaela Marissa to the DDA Main Street Board as a youth representative for a term ending June 30th, 2023.
I'll second that.
Sounds like a great idea.
I think it's fantastic.
Heather actually had started this idea, and I do, just before you guys vote, huge thank you to Scott and Mr. Vader for helping us find a student, and she did attend the DDA meeting last week. You could tell she was nervous, but she was great, and we're all really excited to have a fresh perspective on the board and hopefully bring some connection between our board and some of the things we have going on in the schools and other students. So it's a really cool opportunity.
Motion to move to appoint Michaela Marissa. Marissa.
Yes, Marisa.
Okay, Marissa to the DDA Board, Main Street Board as youth representative for the term ending June 30th, 2023. You can call the roll, Lisa.
Tim,
Yes.
Gwen,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Jerry,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes, and motion carried. You'll let her know, Danielle, she was approved.
Yes.
All right. On to reports.
I'm going to speak to the success story, but The school's already spoken to that, so thank you
Yes.
for putting that in there. The hit that we had of Officer Corey being over there,
Yeah, it
awesome
was
idea.
overwhelming. It was awesome. Huge thank you to him.
I'd just like to encourage us to get together with the school and try to come up with a SRO for there.
Any questions, other questions for Danielle?
Danielle, on your project delivery, it says move to CIP. I'm not sure what CIP is.
Capital improvement.
Okay. Okay.
I was trying to be short and to the point.
But so you have that completed, and also the dam repairs and Rapids future.
Yeah, so instead of continuing to carry them forward, I just built them into the capital improvement plan, which then will help determine when they're going to be funded and completed at that time. So there was a few items that have that notation. I was trying to check some things off.
And is there was there something, Danielle, you're going to be speaking about your evaluation, or what's? That's
Under just council,
That's where it's- okay,
discussion.
there was
I-
somewhere, okay, I'll wait for that then, thank you.
I have a couple questions for Danielle, just quickly, sorry. Snacks at the pool, does Nourish have a sponsorship like Monopoly out there? Are we doing the general quote junk food that we did last year as well?
Yeah, we are doing, junk food or. I'm trying to be a little bit healthier this year. So we have water, Gatorade, we have snack
Soda
food.
snacks.
Yes, we do have Skittles and some junk food too. And then I would like to try to start reaching out to some other places to see if we can do something. And then to kind of expand off that, we are this Wednesday going to have Frozen Paradise at the pool, which will be a great partnership because it's going to be supposed to be 99 degrees. So people can cool off and get some slushies and go cool off some more.
That's really good.
Is it? I'm gonna have to try it.
We had Emmy's trailer out there last year on Sundays.
Yeah, I was going to reach out to them to see if we could do something again. I think we have an opportunity to do some partnerships.
Eric's got his job ready to go.
Different things.
Where I talked to them is they're not really doing much of that anymore, it's special events, but they might, I thought that's it.
You think we could provide some apples or bananas or something healthy as well?
Yeah, Bob's going out there.
So
Bring your own snack.
Bring your own.
we can certainly try and see how it does. I mean,
That's
I'm not
okay.
opposed to it, but
That's all
with
right.
Nourish, we are doing veggie and ranch dip.
Right.
We have, the frozen bananas have been a huge hit, so she has bananas that she dips in chocolate and sprinkles. And if you've not had one, oh my gosh, they're amazing.
Healthy, but it's good.
There's a few healthier options. She does these wraps that are really good and they're healthier.
Yeah.
So we are trying, and then we are so far, and I think we're gonna say we're not doing any soda out there. We're trying to promote keeping people hydrated and safe. So we did vitamin water, Gatorades and water, and the Gatorades have been a huge hit. So we're still kind of learning and trying to work with people, but balance things not going bad either. Wasting food.
Yeah, secondly, obviously, it looks like the Phoenix project's put on the shelf. Have we reached out to the county then again regarding our share, our request for the ARPA funds?
So the county had sent out an email saying that at this time they were working on scheduling a meeting, to talk about it, but it's not yet been scheduled. So I am watching that to see when that comes out, so I can try to attend that meeting and get some more information. And we'll certainly keep you posted.
Updates with legal representation regarding Generac and then the probate for the 3 trust funds.
So legal did prepare all the paperwork for the trust funds. Bob and I both had to sign some of those all of those documents. So we were able to sign, was it last week? Last week. And we'll get that, have to do some public notices and we'll get that stuff submitted to the court. And then Generac, I just spoke with Bill about this again last week as well. And he has attempted numerous more times to reach out to Generac. He was in contact with somebody earlier in the year and then she kind of fell off the face of the earth. And he's been trying to make new contact with I know he and I had talked about bringing an update to you guys on what we can do to move forward in the near future. So I don't know if it'll be the next meeting, but I would say definitely within the next couple of meetings, you'll have that.
Thank you.
Could we clarify that in Generac just a little bit more versus the next couple meetings? Can we say within the next month, please?
Yeah,
Okay, I just, that's just, that project has got to make its way, it's gotta wrap up, man. It's just gotta wrap up. Thank you.
One other thing, Danielle, as far as putting a sign at Pearl Street 223, a pedestrian sign, because we ride our bikes across there too, and it's really kind of dangerous, you almost have to stop. Would you place that on Pearl Street?
yes, that would be the intent and I did actually I had sent Chief and Brent both an email about this to see what we could do. And Brent was gonna look into it a little bit more to see what would comply with like our sign rules. But Chief had a couple of good points too about talking to MDOT. So we're trying to figure that out, but we would like to put it before that crosswalk because what is happening, and I'm sure you guys all know, is people just pull right up over the crosswalk. Well, if people are coming from the downtown area with the building, you can't see them until you're right there. And there's been a couple of close calls. So we wanted to put something before that walk just to get people to yield and then pull forward.
Well, a large round mirror on the pole there.
That's a good idea.
I mean, is that possible?
Newspaper street's a challenge too, right there, so yeah, it is a safety.
At least, you know, as a biker, it would help me to be able to see if the car is coming up.
I can bring that up, but I think that Brent, Chief, and I will work on that and see what's gonna be the best solution.
I'm a biker.
All right, she's gonna hear what she says.
Before I adjourn, I got a couple things when you're ready.
Oh, yeah, we'll get there in a second.
Last thing, we do have an ordinance regarding yard sale signs and right of ways and power poles, that sort of stuff. See a lot of that stuff happening. And I don't know if we put something on Facebook or our social medias, but if you want a yard sale sign, it needs to be on private property. You need to ask the resident if it's on the corner or whatever. There's absolutely nothing allowed on power poles or telephone poles, utility poles. So again, it's just something that happens every spring, every summer.
Yeah, we could do some kind of informational item to put out there and share.
Any other questions for Danielle? Now we're going to the police report. Any questions for Chief? Now we're going to the treasury report. Any questions for Brandon?
Yeah, quickly explain how the pool and the bridge millage kind of fluctuates, Brandon, throughout each year. It sounds like it really dropped over the course of this year and then it goes back up.
So, because we had cleaned up the books this past year, the PVC money had all been going to the general fund for the last couple of years. It should not have been going to the general fund. So Daniel and I allocated it to the appropriate funds, which pushed the pyramid bridge over, and we're only allowed to have 150% more money in that account. So with that being said, there is quite a bit of money in those two accounts that we were able to lower the village down to what we need to make that down payment. Those accounts are not allowed to have more than 150% of what's needed. So if the pool needs $100,000 for the down payment, we're not allowed to have extra $150,000. So that's what that.
So next year it just balances back off and kind of.
And then actually it's gonna go back to normal. It should be 2 months if we do it.
Thank you. All right, Building and planning. That's the house on South.
Yes, 136 South.
Yeah. I went by there today, he does need to work on the yard.
Yes. He did receive a notice, so, we
How many
are,
of those minutes have not
yeah, it's been a lot. Jerry got to see my pile the
There's a
other
lot.
day.
That's good. Right. The chance to see the library, board meeting minutes, documents.
I saw their minutes. I have a question regarding their financial portion. Who does their books?
So Bob has a program that he uses at the library, and then we have our budget as well that we
Right.
track, but he, is it?
So Bob, I believe Bob uses QuickBooks.
That's
So, and then when I give him the bonus when we push the money in, he compares them.
Okay,
And he balances them to my reports.
so Bob is in charge of the financial aspect of the library as well as part of his duties.
No, he keeps a very good eye on his
This is
books.
boss, okay,
Very
gotcha.
good eye.
I understand, okay.
And then if he make a papers, we push the money, and if they don't match, I get an email right away.
Okay, gotcha. And then does the
It's
library,
basically a checks and balances, you know.
do they also have a separate audit than what we do?
No.
They're
They're audited under.
under ours, that's
Yes.
okay, right. Thank you.
Moving on to water treatment plant, May report. Any questions for Nora?
Sorry, that's on here late, totally my fault.
Say what now?
I said, sorry, that's on here late, it's totally my fault.
Okay.
I do for Nora, sorry. Nora, the water mixers are installed.
Yes, they are
Tower.
installed and they started on May 18th.
When will we have an idea of if they are doing anything that will ride those lines?
We all just took our disinfectant byproducts on the 9th, so last Thursday, we took those. So we'll know within a little bit here if they helped. Just samples are at the lab, so within the next couple weeks, I should know.
Should be able to give us an idea of
Yep,
the difference of the change in numbers hopefully.
yes.
Obviously, the re-roof, super important, needs to be done. The sludge building issue, again, it's been a thorn in my side for how long, we're continuing
Yours
to
and
pump
mine.
sludge. Yeah.
Yours and mine. Daniel and I just talked about that when we were looking at our budget and our operations. Right now we have about $63,500 that's just sitting there that we have between chemicals, pulling those dumpsters and things like that. So right now, it's not working. We're talking about allocating some of that money to engineering, to Manic and Smith, looking at, because we have the shell, we have the building. So what process do we need to start getting that out of the waste stream again and what we gotta do? So,
Are you looking at getting rid of the centrifuge option?
the centrifuge that we have right now would be a complete new rebuild. So I'm asking Manic and Smith, what's our best option now? Because that centrifuge was never the right answer for our materials. It cost us way more money. We paid for the water to beat up the sludge. We paid $1,000 a barrel for the sludge, to thicken the sludge. It was never the right option for what we have. So going back to them and kind of looking at re-engineering that process and what we can do. So like I said, we have $13,500 sitting there every budget that we haven't really touched this year. So we're gonna move that towards some engineering for over there, so.
And then my last one, the UIS power study. Obviously, we don't want to burn out pumps, things like that. Are we getting fluctuations from consumers? What's our answer on that?
I have not got any fluctuations from consumers since that whole episode. When I talked to Manic and Smith and I sent them those, they were very surprised we did not have air conditioners in that building. So those pumps and those VFDs sit in that small building where the water vendor is. We crack a window and that's the ventilation it gets. So we have budgeted in the capital improvements to put a new air handling, heat and cooling in that building to take care of cooling those VFD computers down, so.
That's for next year's budget then?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, move on to council discussion. village administrator annual evaluation.
So I put this item here because it does not require action from you guys at this time, but I had sent you guys my self-evaluation for my 1 year that comes up on July 12th. And I was hoping to, and I think I said that 2 weeks ago now. But I was hoping to just be able to set maybe some deadlines for you guys and identify who will be compiling the combined or the total scores. I did create a Excel sheet to try to make it easy for whoever decides to do that, so you can just input the scores. I don't know if that is normally the president, if that's Bob or if somebody else wants to. And then was going to try to set a meeting that we could bring that back to in July so that everybody on council knew when to get that information submitted into Google.
Do you have a date roughly when you sent that, Danielle? I do not recall.
I want to say it was like May 27th or 6th or. I would have to look. I can resend it.
Yeah, I think
That
you should
would be
do
helpful.
that, yeah, resend it.
I don't see anything for the 26th. Anything in the 20s.
Okay, I can resend it.
Thank you so much.
It was part of one of my weekly summaries.
Oh, okay. Okay, as long as you resend it, that's great. I say,
I think-
go ahead and do it.
No, I think that you could do it too.
I'll do it. You said, you'll help us.
Pass the buck.
We'll take care of it, and I have some help already.
If we resend that, and we should have it to Bob by the 25th or whatever the next meeting is, that way you can compile everything and at least bring it, if we don't discuss it at the next meeting, the first meeting in August, but.
Yeah, because we could do, I was thinking the July 11th meeting would be a good, that's, I mean, my 1 year is July 12th. And that gives you, because when I had sent it at the end of May, I thought that'd give you guys a whole month to work on it. I didn't want to leave you no time and just be like, hey, tomorrow I need this.
So you're saying on July 11th, you will be discussing it as a board?
Yes, like on, as an agenda item, if that works for you guys.
And have our paperwork about
Say by the 30th of this month.
30th, that's what you know, okay. Super.
All right, we're moving on to public comment, items not on the agenda. We have a visitor here who would like to.
President Valdez, ladies and gentlemen of the council. You all know me, I'm David Lacoste. I'm not here in my usual capacity. For those that don't know me, again, my name is David Lacoste. I'm a local attorney here in Lenawee County. I've been one for 15 years. I am running for Lenawee County District Court Judge. As some of you may know, we had a retirement on the bench in January. Judge Jonathan Poor retired. And by law, then Governor Whitmer then appointed someone. She appointed an individual, and then also by law, there's to be an election in the fall, starting in August in the primary, and then the fall election to confirm that appointment. There are many of us that think that the residents of Lenawee County should decide who sits on that important bench, and so that is why I'm running, to give people a choice and give people that option to choose who sits on that bench. Now, like I said, I've been a resident here in Lenawee County for 29 years. My secret weapon here is my wife, Ann, over here in the corner. She was a special education teacher in Clinton Elementary for 10 years, and she's now an elementary principal in Adrian. Prior to becoming a lawyer, I was involved with Farm Bureau and had my own Farm Bureau agency for 15 years, and got to know many people from around the county, including right here in Blissfield. The people of Lenawee County deserve somebody on that bench that is fair, knowledgeable, and experienced. The people that come in front of me in my court, they will be treated fairly. They will have the law applied to them fairly and equally as is required. They want somebody who's knowledgeable. It's not my job as a judge. It's not a judge's job to make law. It's a judge's job to apply the law and apply it fairly. Now, you also deserve someone who's experienced. of the 4 people that are running for this position, including the person that was appointed, there's nobody that has the depth and breadth of experience in the Lenawee County District Court than I do. I am, as you know, I am the Blissfield prosecutor. I'm also a prosecutor for Raisin Township, but I've also represented criminal defendants in the Lenawee County District Court. I have represented both plaintiffs and defendants in civil cases in district court. I have represented both landlords and tenants in the Lenawee County District Court. I've handled virtually every type of case that you can handle in district court on both sides. That gives me a unique perspective that I bring to the bench. I know what both sides are dealing with. The other aspect that I bring that is unique is that I am a trained neutral facilitative mediator through the Supreme Court Administrator's Office. Sometimes it's very hard for attorneys to take off that advocate hat and to put on that neutral hat. Well, I have a lot of experience in sitting down with people and listening. Judges have to listen and be able to hear what they're saying and hear what people are saying so that I can treat and judge them fairly and be neutral and maintain that neutral hat and maintain that neutrality. And that's something that's extremely important. So I know I haven't been represented you very long, and I know this may be a surprise for some of you. As soon as I decided to do it, it was after our permanent appointment. I let Danielle and Mr. Valdez know as soon as I had made the decision. But I believe this is the right thing for me to do. I think of the candidates, I think I'm the right person for that position. And if I may, I do have, if I may approach, I may have I'm used to doing that in the courtroom, sorry. I have a card on the back, is a link to my Facebook page. You all know how to get a hold of me, if you ever have any questions. And I'll be here afterwards if anybody else wants it. It'll be updated regularly, but thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
Great. Any other comment items not on the agenda? Go ahead.
The house on
Say your name and address.
Jackie Bates, 114 Sherman Street.
Thank you.
The house on South Monroe has been discussed for a long time. And I brought to the attention the house closer to the highway. It's not been touched and it's getting worse. And I wonder if there's been any inspection, any blight letters sent out to residents to clean up their property.
What was that address?
The address?
Yeah.
I can't remember now, 10 something. If you're at the stoplight and you can see the frosted boy and look right there, that's the mess you see. Anybody coming through Blissfield that stops at that light is gonna see that mess, among other places around town. We got the mattresses gone, and that's this much compared to what's on Monroe Street. You can see it, you turn there. There's a lot of vehicles that should be addressed.
So Jackie, I've sent numerous letters. I'd have to look at the address to tell you this, and I could give you an exact update. And then I did actually create a code violation form. So if you stop in and you have addresses and I can write those down, check the form, and then that has been really helpful for me for tracking. Since I am helping to fill this.
I had it when I addressed the council before, and I can't remember. I might have it in my notes.
Okay,
I
and
wanna say
I
it's 1 or
remember
6.
writing down an address for you.
So a
and
letter
looking at
goes
it.
out,
Yes.
and then what happens?
So they either need to correct the issue, if it's grass and they don't, then we would send somebody to mow and we would fill that property for it. If it's more than that, it's a little bit more involved because we don't have the funds to just go take care of every issue.
Is there a fine?
There is $100 fine for our ordinance that they can be billed for every day that it continues.
Is that being done?
Most of the people comply with the time frame. So I would say
I'm
it's,
not, well,
few and far
for
between.
junk, unoperable vehicles in your yard, go by there, how many's there now? 4 or 5?
I believe
And you can't see the one that's behind the garage, there's one back there too. And that's the most visible one in town. But there's a lot of other
This is, I
places.
believe this is one of the ordinances that we have discussed and is on the burner to be.
yeah, I actually had drafted up an ordinance and sent it to legal, and they provided a ton of feedback, which is good, that's what they're supposed to do, but
Yeah.
their feedback is not just as simple as me submitting an ordinance revision to you, is what I found out. It's much more drawn out and in depth than I realized. So we are working on it, but I'd be more than happy to follow up on that or any other
There's a
address or
lot,
give you
but the one I'm
information.
talking about is the most visible one.
Wanna wait?
Anybody coming through town sees that, and if they're just going through town, what's their impression of Blissfield?
I mean, we do have ordinances in place, obviously, for, unplated vehicles, we've got ordinances for.
It's not
parking.
unplated,
It's not
it's
unplated, or
inoperable.
See, so I mean, there are things
I looked
that
it up.
people have to verify, it has to be passed on to the proper channels, whether it's a building inspector, whether it's police for vehicles, that sort of thing. We have ordinance in place where you have to park in the driveway, you can't be parking in grass or sidewalks, things like that. So I mean, we do have ordinances in place, yes, it's a matter of the public coming to us, filling out the report. We have anonymous forms that you can fill out. A lot of it has been policy based on, in the past, on
Well, that's.
requests from residents, and you're right, it absolutely does need to be addressed, and it needs to be passed down to through the proper channels to have it addressed. I get that it's frustrating, and it does take time.
Well, that one in particular
Kevin,
looks
just call me when you see these things, I'll look into it.
terrible.
Just call me.
It looks real bad, and that's what's so visible in Blissfield. That's the one that I see all the time, and everybody else does too.
So it was a little more detailed, a little more in-depth than
Has
what you
any-
anticipated.
Yes, and in fact, if you want, I'll send that information in my weekly summary, but yeah, it's way more drawn out for the
Because you were thinking
violation.
it was
But we are doing, again, a ton of code violations.
Okay, that's.
Lisa has actually been a super huge help, so I made the form, which is helping us track it, we go get the photos, I send the letter, we put it in a file for the date that we're supposed to follow up, so then in the morning, we can say, okay, today's the 13th, what do we have? Or if anything, and then we go back, take pictures again, and then whatever action moving forward at that point, if it's not corrected. So it is a process, and we are short staffed, but again, I can look up this address and see what has been done, and we can go back and visit and see if something else needs to be addressed too, but definitely, I mean, text or email me anytime even if you say, hey, this address, and then I'll do the form even, you don't have to necessarily come in and do that, but then that's
Well,
my
you know,
reminder to
My
check out.
guy, we have someone walking around reading the water meters. Maybe they can make some notations too,
All right.
to follow that stuff. But that, we're talking about, I guess, I wouldn't have even thought about it if we had said something about Monroe Street in that house. And mow the yard and all this stuff. And this other one, 10 times worse. 10 times worse. And because it's so visible and stuff like, and the River Raisin Festival is coming up, and how many people are gonna walk by and see that mess? It's bad. Thank you.
Thanks.
You see it.
Danielle, I think you mentioned something in your notes, but what is the status? We have 8 applications for the position, and you're gonna be interviewing shortly.
Yes, I am trying to work on getting interviews hopefully scheduled next week for the zoning administrator position with, in a perfect world, bringing the recommendation to you guys at the next meeting on the 22nd. And we did receive 8 applications. So it'll be Lisa, myself, Chief, and Jerry sitting on that interview panel.
And are we having anything for committee of the whole session next week?
I do not have anything, no.
All right, then, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I had something wrong about.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You said- Yeah. Go ahead.
Just some update on Parks and Rec. Eric May, told something Gasser Street, Parks and Rec coordinator. I understand we've received a pool donation from a resident here. I might have missed the meeting you guys talked about that at. We talked about a Parks and Rec meeting here a little bit. We'd like to be heavily involved in that in some way, recommendations, ideas. I don't know, what, do you guys have a plan for that as of this time?
I think the contributor and Danielle have been working on that.
Yes, so I actually met at the site with the family member that donation money came from, and at that time, it's been communicated to her then and several other times that we want to work with the family because it was such a generous donation, and that the Parks and Rec Board does oversee the park facilities and the pool, as well as counsel with the finances and things like that, and that you guys would be kept in the loop. I really think that it's important to respect kind of what their thoughts and their vision are while still following our processes. So it will come to you guys in a little bit, but we're still working through some things and trying to get something concrete to present to the board and to council. So after our meeting a few weeks back, her and I both had some homework, things we wanted to follow up on and then regroup. So that should be coming forward.
Cool. Just some updates and some stuff that's happening with Parks and Rec. We have our annual 3-on-3 tournament July 9th. We'll close off the streets, do our thing out there. It brings in a lot of people during the festival time. We pause during the parade, 10:30 to noon. We'll clear out for the parade, push everything back, and go back at it. So it's been very successful for 4 years already. So get your team, James.
Yeah. Team suit.
The Blissfield on Tap is back in play, as you guys heard this year after a couple years off due to COVID. This year we have 3 bands probably playing. One is a national cover band. They cover Kiss, and they're nationally known across the United States. So something different this year, just so you know. We've got 5 or 6 breweries lined up already. So it's gonna be a fun night. We're doing pre-sales, we're gonna start getting advertising. You see some posters on your way out here. So it's gonna be a really nice event. We're gonna have a special, it's been 4 to 10 o'clock on August 13th. And there's gonna be pre-sales for VIP time an hour before that, and then our regular sales too, so. And we're taking volunteers, anyone wants to help on that too, so.
Regarding that, that's a big budget. I mean, for the one event, that's pretty practically the same as we spend in a Yuletide for the weekend.
Yeah.
This is a moneymaker.
It has been the years we had it, we basically broke even, give or take a few $100 for what we were talked about at that time. So we've had roughly around 300 people each time we've had it. Again, it's downtown. We secured the area on for state regulations. But with this band coming in, it might be even bigger this year, so yeah. And as part rec coordinator now, I will give you guys a report, a verbal report every month. For some reason I can't make it, I'll definitely make sure you get an email for the report, so thanks again.
Okay.
Thank you.
Name and address, please.
My name is Carl Stidmika, 209 Sherman Street. I'd like information, is there a sister city in Europe for Blissfield? Is there a sister's?
Not currently, no.
Well, I've been a couch potato and I've been watching travel logs, and there's a city on the northern end of the Adriatic shore next to Italy, Austria, Hungary, and Yugoslavia. And Slovenia is the nation, and their capital is also known as the Three Bridges. So I leave that information to you and to however you want to go and shuffle it. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Spell it city.
It's right here, I'll get it. I can't pronounce it, but I got it spelled.
All right, then, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that.
Jerry second. You can call the roll, please.
Gwen,
Excuse me, yes, sorry, that's all right.
Tim,
Yes.
James,
Yes.
Gary,
Yes.
Barb,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes, meeting's adjourned. Thank you.